welcome to my channel. My name is Annie. In this video, I will be doing part 5 and the conclusion to my night shift report card. In this video, I will be talking about the last 4 stories in Night Shift, which include The Last Rung on the Ladder, The Man Who Loved Flowers, One for the Road, and The Woman in the Room. So, without further ado, let me get to it. The first story that I will be talking about is called The Last Rung on the Ladder. And it's about this man, Larry. He's middle-aged, and he just finds out that his younger sister, Kitty, has committed suicide. And Larry, his life has been pretty successful. He's a corporate lawyer. He makes a lot of money. He's always traveling. And his younger sister, Kitty, her life hasn't gone so well, and she was a model for a little bit, and by the end of her life she ends up being a call girl. So he just finds out that his younger sister has committed suicide. So he's thinking about her as he's reading the last letter that she had written him, and he's reminiscing to a time when they were kids, and there was an event that happened between them that they shared that kind of, stayed with them, and it had a huge impact on their lives. And so that comes into play as Larry is thinking about the past and about Kitty. And I don't really, want to say the ending, but it's pretty much, it's like a haunting story. There's no ghosts or vampires or anything really supernatural. It's like, I'd say human sadness is the scare factor in this story, but human pain is nothing to joke with. So I thought it was a good story. I'd recommend it. It was very very haunting. But I would give, and I don't mean to make it so short and not really get into it, but it's kind of such a short story that I feel like if I got into it, I'd just tell the whole story, and like, why bother reading it? And, I think it's up to you to figure out what you make of it, and, how it affects you when you read it. So that being said, I give Last Rung on the Ladder an A- on my night shift report card. The next story that I will talk about is The Man Who Loved Flowers. Now, before I begin, I just want to say that I read this like a month or 2 ago, and I wrote notes afterwards, and now I'm like actually in the middle of reading The Stand. So some of the details I have forgotten, I'm sorry, and this is one of the stories where I know the general idea of it, but not enough to talk about it. So I'm just going to read what I wrote after I read the story so that I can include everything I wanted to say. So I'm just going to put my glasses on and just read what I have written. Okay. So, The Man Who Loved Flowers. This is a short story that takes place in New York in late spring of 1963. It tells the story of a man walking down the streets on his way to buy flowers. Everyone he passes observes how much in love he looks, and when they see that, they are reminded of young love, especially young love in late spring. To everyone he passes, the look of love is on him, and he appears in extremely good spirits as he arrives at the small flower stand. After a small exchange with the flower vendor, the man buys a half-dozen tea roses, all wrapped up nicely. He plans on giving the roses to his love, Norma. He doesn't have a lot of money, but Norma is always happy whenever he gives her small gifts, a bracelet, flowers, or chocolate. He can't wait to see Norma's face and how happy she will be when she sees these roses. As the man is walking up and down the streets and down side and back roads, it's getting darker. He finally arrives in an alley or back street where he is expecting Norma to meet him. Soon a woman appears. It must be Norma. The man tries handing Norma the flowers, but things don't turn out the way he had hoped. To find out what happens, you will have to read The Man Who Loves Flowers. And that's where I'm going to leave it with that. And I gave, for my night shift report card, I gave The Man Who Loves Flowers a B. It was a cute little story. I remember that. It was just, this sounds really weird, but like as I was reading it, it kind of, in my imagination, kind of reminded me of like a black and white silent movie. Because I can't really explain a plot. It's just like this man who goes to buy flowers and everybody notices him, and it's a spring day, and it's like a lot of the atmosphere and the environment around him, and but there was no like big plot to it. You know what I mean? It just reminded me of like a silent movie. But I liked it and I gave it a B. The next story that I'm going to be talking about is called One for the Road. And I especially like this story because there's ties to Salem's Lot in it, which I thought was really cool. So if you like the novel Salem's Lot, you might like this short story. And One for the Road is told by the narrator, an elderly man by the name of Booth, and he is a lifelong resident of Falmouth, Maine. And him and his friend Tookie are in Tookie's bar, and this man comes into the bar. The bar's closed. There's nobody out because there's this really bad northeastern blizzard, and it's really nasty weather, so no one's out, and it's just the two of them in the bar hanging out. And this man comes in, and he's like in a mess. He's like frostbitten, and he faints as soon as he gets there. He's a mess, and come to find out, he's there because his car, he drove in a ditch, or his car broke down, but his car is stuck somewhere with his wife and his young daughters inside. And he's trying to ask these men for help. And they ask him where the car is, where his vehicle is, and he's like, I believe it's Cumberland, we're on our way to Cumberland, Jerusalem's Lot, I believe. So if you've read Jerusalem's Lot or Salem's Lot, you would know why that's not a good thing. So the men are freaked out, and they're kind of like apprehensive about going to save him, but they know they have to. They end up helping him, but the man's like a little like, why are they acting like, why don't they, like my wife, they're gonna freeze to death. But they end up helping him, and they get a snow truck, and they go out to where the truck is, and they try to tell the man the stories about Jerusalem's Lot, and he obviously doesn't believe that because it sounds pretty silly that if you heard a story about vampires in a town, you're probably not going to believe it. So he didn't, and but they go to Jerusalem's Lot to get the car, and his wife and daughter are not in the car. So that's where I'm going to actually stop, because I know a lot of people do like Salem's Lot, and if you do, it's really good. It's fun to go back to it. So I don't want to spoil the ending, and I really suggest that you read it. It was really good, and I actually give One for the Road an A+. The last story in this collection is a story called The Woman in the Room. And this story was super sad, I thought. It's about this man named Johnny, and his mother is terminally ill. I believe she might have lung cancer or maybe some sort of cancer, but she's, wasting away, and she's on hospice in a bed just moments from death, and she's in all sorts of horrible pain. She ends up having this operation where they go into her brain, and I guess they shut off her pain receptors or something, and she's supposed to not feel pain, but she says she still does, whether it's phantom pain. She believes she's in horrific, agonizing pain all the time, and her son visits her. Her son Johnny visits her, and he sneaks her like ibuprofens and stuff, and because the nurses aren't giving her anything, 'cause she's not supposed to be in pain because of the procedure she had done. So you go to make her feel better, and he's at home at her house, and he's going through her things, and he's going through the medicine cabinet, and I think the grandmother had cancer or something, and there was a bunch of leftover Darvocet's painkillers in the medicine cabinet, and he thinks about his mom, and she's always like begging him to take away my pain, and she's it's just really hard. I don't know if anyone's seen a loved one be really sick like that, or watched a loved one in the death process. It's very, very sad. And so he's thinking about giving his mother these pills to end her life, to take her pain away, because she's ready to go. She's going to die anyway, and he feels really sad about, not really sad, he feels horrible. It's heartbreaking to watch somebody in that much pain. So he's thinking about that, but at the same time, it's his mother. So, in a way, he'd be killing his mother. Could he live with himself? And he juggles this question, and that's pretty much what the story's about. I'm not going to give the ending away to you, because I think you should read it. Just a really sad, sad story. And but I gave it an A because it was very touching and very emotional, and I just really liked it a lot. I really got a lot out of it, and I thought it was a good story. So I gave it an A, and I guess that's it for my night shift report card, and I hope you like this video. As a whole, I would definitely recommend Night Shift, because even if you don't like one story, there's 20 stories in the collection, so you're bound to find something that you like. And if you're not in the mood to read a big hunk of book, which is a lot of Stephen King's books are really, really big, and it's, sometimes time consuming, or you just might not be in the mood to, invest the time to read that much. So if you just want a quick story, I would definitely recommend having a Night Shift in your book collection. It's definitely worth the buy, and it's a good book with a lot of good stories in it, and a lot of interesting and weird stories too. And I liked that a lot of the stories, all of the stories obviously, were very old Stephen King style, and like with a lot of shock value. But I noticed that a lot of the stories in this collection, there wasn't like a neatly done ending. It kind of, a lot of it was like up in the air, and there was no happy endings to any of the stories, and I kind of thought that was neat, like just a little something different, that life isn't tied in a bow. So there should be stories that are like that, I guess. But I thought it was a neat factor. So that does it for my Night Shift report card, and my next video, I believe, will be on The Stand, which I'm halfway through now, and I'm really enjoying a lot, and I'm looking forward to talking about it in my next video. But until then, I'll see you later.